Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So this is primarily authoritarianism, right? The tyranny side of this equation. But there's also delusion here. The delusion is that you can destroy democracy in an endeavor to protect democracy. What I'm speaking about is the Colorado State Supreme Court and invalidating Donald Trump as a candidate in the election, right? In the primaries and, and by extension in the 2024 elections. And they're invoking the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that would prohibit anybody who's participating and supporting and involved in an insurrection, right? So yes, they're referencing January 6th. This is the very authoritarianism that leftists point the accusing finger at Trump, right? Let me remind you that not only has Donald Trump not been charged or convicted with anything to do with any alleged insurrection on January 6th, none of those who are currently charged, and many of whom are still in jail, none of them have been charged as insurrectionists. There was, in fact, no insurrection on January 6th. There was some rioting, there was some serious misbehavior, some police officers were attacked. That was reprehensible, but it was not an insurrection. I mentioned this in other videos, right? If you're about to undertake an insurrection, you wear combat boots and you carry an assault rifle, or a rifle, right? But, leftists call them assault rifles because they look scary. You don't walk around with, several chummy security staff in the chambers wearing a Viking hat and wearing a cape. No. In fact, nobody was charged with carrying a weapon. Nobody was found to be carrying a weapon. The one person that was shot and killed, Ashley Babbitt, shot at point blank or near point blank range, where she posed absolutely no dangerous threat, no lethal threat to the officer that shot her. In any other circumstances, this cop would have been charged with either negligent homicide or, some species of homicide, right? It was utterly unjustified. I'm a former police officer and military officer, and I've undertaken use of force training. And it is very nearly universal, at least between Canada and the United States. So so these court justices of Colorado Supreme Court invalidated Donald Trump and his ability to be on the ballot for Democratic appointed justices. What they're effectively doing is denying the people of Colorado to vote for the candidate of their choice. And again, he has not been convicted of any charge, including insurrection, with respect to January 6th. Now, if he had been convicted of mounting an insurrection and convicted, then I guess, they would have a case to make. As it is, they don't. And leftists keep accusing, CNBC, CNN. You get all these pointy-headed leftists saying, Donald Trump is some kind of fascist and authoritarian. They miss the very obvious authoritarianism of Joe Biden. Here's a couple of pointed examples. Number one, student loan forgiveness. And as Thomas Sowell, the economist, the black economist, if that matters to you, because you're a racist and you think race is important, I don't. He happens to be an intellectual giant. He makes it very clear. Debt isn't forgiven, it's transferred. In this case, Biden wanted to forgive billions of dollars in student loan debt from privileged university graduates and transfer that to hardworking working stiffs. Here's the reality about a university degree. Most of them are absolutely nonsensical. feminist, lesbian basket weaving. But as it happens, over the course of a lifetime, having that degree confers upon you substantial earning advantages. And where are you going to go with this feminist basket weaving, lesbian feminist basket weaving? You're going to go into one of these corporations, Disney or Coca-Cola or what have you, as one of these diversity, equity, and inclusion Nazis. People laugh at these degrees. I laugh at these degrees because it's ideological nonsense. It's toxic ideological nonsense, but they earn a living. And some poor working staff is going to be paying off the student debt of these, social justice fascists. No, that's authoritarianism. Transferring the debt. Joe Biden, as president, does not have that authority. It's the House that votes on finances. So exceeding his authority. But he's being nice, right? He's throwing, this is like breads and circuses under ancient Rome. Keep the population happy. In this regard, he's trying to buy votes, the young vote, right? No, authoritarianism. He doesn't have that authority. And as of now, he's still trying to circumvent that to give these gifts away. The other one, the FBI was investigating traditional Catholics as though they represent some serious terrorist threat to the United States. Unlike that imam in Michigan who's calling for jihad. Who do you think is more dangerous? Who do you think the FBI should be spending time investigating? They should be jailing this troll. Have you seen this guy? He looks like he lives under a rock and spewing the most hatred, violence, Islamic hatred, violence. And here's another one of Biden's authoritarianism, leftist authoritarianism. Parents who attended school board meetings and were absolutely outraged by the sex and gender ideology being spoon-fed to their children who were too young to know that this ideology is poisonous, or this divisive, racist, critical race theory nonsense. Yes, the Justice Department was investigating them. Utterly outrageous. This is authoritarianism. And so is, the attempt by the Colorado Supreme Court to deny the citizens of Colorado the right to choose the candidate of their choice. I get it. Leftists can get on the media as they have on CNN, NBC, CBC, what have you, and make all the slanderous allegations that they want to. It's up to the people to decide, not 4 Supreme Court justices. And this has been tried in a number of other states in the United States, and they got pitched out, right? But in Colorado, no, 4-3 decision. But this will make it up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And you know what leftists are going to say? Oh, of course, because it's conservative justices and they want Trump. No, they're standing up for the Constitution. And perhaps you didn't know that there is a great division in legal theory between originalists and those who think, the Constitution is a living, breathing document, which means you can read out, creatively reinterpret whatever you want to read into it. You read into that document exactly what you want to read out of it. For the originalists, they say, this is what the Constitution meant, and this is what the intent was at the time of its writing. There are mechanisms within the Constitution that allow you to amend the Constitution. Judges don't get to decide. Supreme Court justices, their sole job is to look at legislation and say, this legislation is consistent with the Constitution or it's inconsistent with the Constitution. If it's consistent with the Constitution, whether they subjectively like it or not, it's law. And if they don't like it, they can, engage in political activity. They can vote for the candidate of their choice. But they don't get to say, well, sure, it's strictly speaking constitutional, but I don't like it. So as a Supreme Court justice, I'm going to decide. This takes the democratic process out of the hands of the voting public and puts it into the hands of unelected Supreme Court justices. This is not democracy. This is authoritarianism. And no, you don't get to decide that your authoritarianism is the nicest authoritarianism. There's no such thing as nice authoritarianism. It's just authoritarianism you like. Awful. It's indefensible. And again, I don't care if you like Trump or you hate Trump. You have to stand up for the Constitution of the United States and the right of the voting public to vote for the candidate of their choice. Anyways, terrible circumstances, and I'm almost certain it'll get thrown out because it is unconstitutional. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Oh, sidebar here. I am being persecuted by the fascist dictators over at TikTok. If you're seeing this on TikTok, switch over, find me on YouTube. Yes, I haven't had any of my videos banned or censored there, and I'm constantly being harassed by the censors at TikTok, right? They're like the Stalinist censorship boards in the Soviet Union. Anyways, and do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. If you don't think this leftist ideology is dangerous, you don't understand this leftist ideology. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Bye-bye now.